Hi, I'm Amy with Ask a Christian, and I want to do my little part today to explain my views and position on the Black Lives Matter movement. And I want to invite you along with, even though I just have a tiny, tiny channel, I still have friends and family members and people I've met through this channel. And I just want to add my voice and my thoughts to the mix and let you know that I know this title might be a slight bit inflammatory. And I definitely do know what John 3:16 says. I know and love that verse so much. And I do realize that it talks about how all lives matter to God. And I'm here to affirm that all lives matter to me and to God. And that's why I think it's not the right response right now. Let me read you something that you're going to want to follow along with. Turn to Luke 15 so that you know where I'm not actually reading the Bible. This story is primarily about sin and salvation. It's a story of the lost sheep. And while I know that is the primary reason for this parable, talking about God chasing after the sinner, I don't believe that's the only message we can get from this story. So please turn to Luke 15. And I think you're going to learn along with me that this is not just about salvation, but about how Jesus wants to treat his sheep and how he wants us to treat his sheep. Warning, jots and tittles galore have been added. If you're a Bible reader, you'll know what that means. But here's verse 3. Then Jesus told them this parable, kind of. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep of all different delightful varieties, stout little Rylands, shaggy Shetlands, and the formidable Dorset horns. Let's say, come counting time, the shepherd notices that one of his sheep is missing. It appears that one of the Shetlands has encountered some trouble. The shepherd makes sure that the 99 are secure and safe and goes after the missing sheep. Wouldn't you spend time doing a little extra searching for that Shetland until you found him? Verse 5, and when you found him, wouldn't you joyfully put him on your shoulders? Verse 6, go home and call your friends together and celebrate that you have found the missing sheep. Verse 7, and then would your friends not say, why spend so much time ensuring the safety of the Shetland? Do not all sheep matter? And wouldn't you then reply, of course, they all matter, but the Shetland was in trouble. I tell you that in the same way, although all humans definitely matter equally, there will be more appreciation in heaven over one who looks for ways to lift his brother up from the miry clay of inequality than those who do nothing, assuming that everyone is already being treated equally. I was inspired to alter this parable for my friend Janet Abbey, who is a youth worker here in my area, in the Bay Area. I saw a post that she wrote just lamenting, crying about the unnecessary use of force by the police against Rayshard Brooks. And she was pouring her heart out for loss of life online. She said, every time I see the face of another Black man murdered senselessly for no good reason, I see the face of my son. My heart races and pounds through my chest. I'm gripped with fear, and I'm mad with anger and worry. What would I do if that was my son? So in reading her comments, I found tons of things that I could post on, and I saw lots of people agreeing with her in support, and then I saw a few yeah buts. So here are the yeah buts. I want to explain because I'm a yeah but kind of person myself. I can always find something to disagree with you on. Luckily for me, I am reformed, and God also helps me find a lot of places I can agree where I wouldn't used to be able to do that. But God's calling me to find places of agreement. So I am putting myself in the shoes of anyone who has a natural yeah, but response to the Black Lives Matter movement, passionate Facebook posts railing against police brutality, the call to tear down Euro-featured Jesus art that some people are saying is purposeful white oppression. I definitely find yeah buts coming to my mind for all of these things. So if you're thinking that I am not like you in that, please don't be mistaken. There are a lot of things and a lot of posts that I don't agree with. Here are some of the things that have passed through my own mind because I want to be vulnerable and open to you so that maybe we can get to a place of agreement. Some of the things that I've thought is like we're talking about, yeah, but all lives matter. Yeah, but if he hadn't resisted arrest or if he hadn't been there in the first place, yeah, but police are rarely indicted or convicted in any shooting. Yeah, but some of those people wearing Black Lives Matter shirts are throwing fireworks at homeless people, and on and on and on. What I've come to realize is that there are so many legitimate and illegitimate yeah buts on both sides of every issue. You could spend all day on social media arguing, blaming, finding clips to prove that whatever you think is atrocious is true. You could definitely prove your point. But you know what? Most people I talk to, most people whose posts I'm reading, very few people think that the majority of Black lives lost to police shootings are sainted ones. Very few people believe that most police are bad guys. Very few people think that every white person is bent on impressing them. But most people are so tired of the yeah buts. They just want to hear one thing. Can we get to this point of agreement? This is what I'm asking you. There are so many yeah buts, but can we get here? Can we say without reserve these things? Yes, I agree with you. Yes, Black lives matter to me and to God. Yes, too many Black people are getting their lives taken way too early. If we can say those things, then we have a basis, a place of agreement where we're starting off as a teammate and a team member, and we don't sound oppositional. Just leave the yeah buts for another time. I think that we'll get there. And what we're really doing when we do this is we're talking about the kind of God we serve. We're saying that the kind of God we serve is the kind of God that leaves the 99 who are somewhat in a safe place and goes after the guy who's in trouble. And that's the kind of God I serve. Listen, my friends, I don't know how to make things better. I've thought about this a lot. What can Amy do? I don't know. It's difficult because the problem is not that we're a racist. I'm not a racist. I may have certain bias, right? We all have certain bias. I'm in that group for sure. But I think it's because we're not yet anti-racist. We haven't made a decision to live for the other. We haven't made a decision to live for the one of the 99 that's gone missing or feeling like they're in trouble. So here are 3 things that as a Christian I feel called to do, and maybe you do too. Maybe you want to accept the challenge and work on these things with me. Number 1, increase the breadth of my knowledge about Black history and stories, particularly stories that help me feel sympathy. That's important. Anytime I've been moved or changed from the inside out, it's because I've heard stories. Stories move and change people. Number 2, increase the depth of my relationships with people of color. Hey, look, I've got a handful, probably a healthy handful, but it's definitely something I want to do. I want to push past the surface, get to know people better, turn some of my acquaintances into friends, and I want to pursue that. And I think it's just good to bring diversity into your life. Number 3, here's where my Christian worldview really comes in. I want to go the extra mile in conversation. The extra mile is a concept that we see in Matthew 5:41. It's this part of the Bible where Jesus is teaching what it really looks like to follow him. It's a lot of practical guidelines. The Beatitudes are also found in Matthew 5. And the extra mile says that when someone is forcing you or coercing you to carry their pack for a mile, which was something I believe I've heard that Roman citizens or Roman military could ask of their citizens, a Christian, out of the love in their heart, would not just do what they were compelled, but they would go an additional mile. That's the idea anyway. And I want to do that in this situation. So what that looks like in Christianity is that if I'm confused, if I'm scared, if I'm threatened by you, if I just don't understand you, it is what Christianity looks like is that I go that extra mile to try to figure you out. If it's painful or uncomfortable, whatever, I have to go there. The other side of that is that if you're a Christian, you're going to make a safe space for me, and you're going to go that extra mile and give me grace and patience and explain with, both of us putting as much baggage or fear and worry aside. So in summary, do all lives matter? Yes, of course they do. Absolutely. But is that the correct response for the times right now? No, let's not do that, because we need to be lifting up the ones that don't feel like their lives matter right now. We need to be going after the one that has not gone astray, like the story says, but just is in extra need of help. You never know when it will be your turn to need a lift. So if we're going to err on one side, let's err on the side of giving too much, loving too hard, or lifting each other up too high. Let's give as much as we can and see if the other center love of God really does what it says it does, which is turn all hearts to each other and to God. Until next time, I'm Amy with Ask a Christian, and I'm wishing you joy and peace for your